Okay, it's 6 p.m. We'll call our meeting in order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a roll call, please, Maureen?
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Bemble?
Here.
Mrs. Lee?
Here.
Mrs. Hett? Here. Mrs. Royal? Here. Mr. Krings?
Here.
Mrs. Medina? Here.
Thank you, Maureen. We'll move on to the student representatives report. Drake.
Some good news for academics. Kesa Crawford, she won her science award from the president for research on black holes, which was really nice. I was very proud of her. Jake Elliott and Taylor Hockey won the Cole Fellowship Scholarship, and instead of $3,000, they decided all winners would get $5,000, so they got $5,000, which is good price to us. Mary Poppins musical was a success. I don't know if any of you guys saw that.
That's awesome.
Great.
I couldn't see it, so I was really disappointed. The LHS string choir placed first at Solo and Ensemble this past week, so we're in our second week of AP testing. And right now there's a student art show at McMillan Library. It's just through the May 19th. And last week, May 2nd week, was Teacher Appreciation Week, so student council made cards for them and put them in their mailboxes, and then other students could send cards to them as well during lunch. We had a safe, fun, and secure prom this last Saturday. Grace Hartman was nominated for Central Wisconsin Athlete of the Week for track, because she's real fast. Graduation is June 5th. Actually, tonight at 7:30, there's a band concert, so you guys can get there. And we just held student council elections, so usually we switch, but I'll be the student board rep as well as the student council president for this upcoming year.
Thank you, and I look forward to working with you for another year. I think I speak for all of us, and they say you bring an awful lot to the table, and we really appreciate your input. And congratulations on Prom King.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Thank you, Drake. I guess I would just like to say we didn't meet last week during Teacher Appreciation Week, but on behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of our teaching staff as well as our support staff. We certainly could not do the things we do in this district if it wasn't for the awesome people that work here, so thank you to everyone. Okay, we'll move on. Next special report, Lincoln High School student trip to Ecuador.
Well, as you know, you approve trips to various locations every year, and so I thought it might be fun for you to get a report on the recent trip to Ecuador. We have Jake Letland and Lisa Torres and somebody in Blaze Orange. And I know Drake, I saw, and Christian?
Yep.
Christian Smith.
And then Drake, you were along as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought you might like to see what went on. Do you want us to?
Well, then I'll try to get everything up here on the screen and have some pictures for you all and whatnot, so I'll wait to fire that up. That looks like the right one. Alrighty. So we went to Ecuador for 10 days over spring break. We left March 19th, came back on the 29th. We had an amazing trip. Just the phrase that we have here, Ecuador y LHS, aman la vida. One thing we noticed while we were there, their tagline, tourist line that they use for everything is Ecuador ama la vida. Ecuador loves life. And that's something that we kind of adopted as well while we were there. So just some highlights that took place while we were there. We obviously were there to study the language. We were immersed in the Spanish language. Our tour guides spoke only Spanish to our students, so they were able to really see what they could do after all of their studies. With the culture, they stayed with families while they were there for 6 days, so they were actually able to see day-to-day life, not just let's go hit the hot tourist spots. They were actually able to see have dinner every 3 meals a day with their families and everything as well. It obviously was an educational trip. For 6 days, actually 5 days, they stayed and worked, took classes for a few hours in the morning at a local language institute. So with actual teachers of Spanish there, they were able to improve their Spanish abilities there. In addition to just the Spanish classes they took, they also were able to take a cooking class. They were able to take a salsa dance class for 2 hours. Some other educational things they got to learn about.
That's how we got to be king. We also had a salsa.
Christian shaking his head.
And there are some pictures on here too.
Are you senior?
Yeah, I'm a senior.
Oh, graduation should be interesting.
We also got a once-in-a-lifetime education by going to a World Cup qualifier between Ecuador and Paraguay. So they got to see what life is in a Spanish-speaking country trying to qualify for a World Cup. So that was really, really neat. Another day, or actually that same day, we stopped at a soup kitchen for elderly residents of Quito, and we got to spend a couple hours volunteering there, serving food, playing games, doing some coloring, more dancing. There was singing. There was a 5-minute rendition of the Macarena that day. As far as cuisine, they got to have some great authentic meals. One thing that we didn't try but is a delicacy there is called cuy, which is guinea pig. None of us tried it, but we did see it on a menu in a couple places. So as far as geography goes, Ecuador is highlighted there on the map. If you don't know where it is in South America, it's in our same time zone as us, so there was no time difference on our trip. It is actually, we did actually get to go stand right on the equator, both the actual GPS measured location and where there is a large monument that is incorrectly measured before GPS existed. So we got to stand at both places, so that was kind of neat. The last two, elevation, Quito is one of the highest, as far as elevation goes, cities, or capital cities in the world at about 9,000 feet in elevation, which is almost double what the city of Denver is if you've ever been there. So it's really high up. You feel like you're really in the clouds and up in the sky. We did climb or get to the top of a volcano that is at about 13,000 feet at one point as well. So, and there's some pictures of that as well. It overlooks the entire city. So, and exercise, we definitely took care of business with the exercise. My phone that I had on me measured one day, we marched 12 miles around the city of Quito, and all at elevation. So we definitely got some exercise. So,
was it difficult with the air different like that?
I noticed it for sure. I don't know if the students, you can ask Drake, you can ask Christian.
Definitely noticed it right as we got off the plane. It was definitely a difference.
Like, not getting enough air, or?
It definitely, I know when we got out at the top of that mountain at 13,000 feet, and then they asked us to start hiking another mile, I'm like, do we have any golf carts or anything? You know. So this is our group, and feel free to chime in, everybody, this is our group in Chicago at O'Hare Airport the day we left. These are the shirts, as Christian has as well. We've started doing that our last few trips so as to make sure we don't lose anybody in the airport with bright colors and everything. So that's us ready and raring to go. We spent a long day of traveling because they mostly do overnight flights in and out of Quito. So we landed at about midnight, 11 o'clock midnight when we got there, and also left at between 11 o'clock and midnight when we came home. So we took 12 students altogether, ranging in anywhere from, we did one freshman and then everybody else is sophomores, juniors, and seniors, ranging anywhere from Spanish 2 to Spanish 5. Christian was our Spanish 5 representative, Drake's in Spanish 4. The majority of them were at that level, but a little bit of everything. So this is our group out in front of the school that they studied at, along with our 2 tour guides on either side. They also run the school, and this was right before we went to the soccer game, donning some Ecuador jerseys so that we would fit in and, look like locals. So.
Did you find the soccer game to be pretty sedate? They're not excited about soccer.
It was like nothing I've ever
It
seen.
gave you goosebumps.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it just did.
They got really
People are very
angry.
patriotic.
That's
We're angry
because they're refs.
Yeah.
Even when you watch it on TV, it's like the stadium is shaking.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
This was that same day. This was part of their cooking class. That day they actually were in charge of preparing lunch. So they learned how to make an authentic soup that was pretty typical for Ecuador and Quito especially. So they were all busy, I believe, peeling potatoes here in this picture. Right, gentlemen? What else did you guys have to do? Were you prepared to do for that one? So
The bean things.
Okay.
I remember we had to pop beans out of shells. And then,
okay.
That was a disaster.
We had enough soup to last a lifetime.
Yeah, soup tends to be a part of every meal.
Yeah.
Good.
Maybe not breakfast, but all the other meals.
Okay. This is footage of our dance class. They literally danced salsa for 2 hours. They were tired, and then had to walk home about a half an hour, 45 minutes to get home after that. So they were tired. We were tired watching them. So this was we are actually our first full day there was Palm Sunday, and that was just a huge celebration. This is right outside the government palace, and they are reenacting everything from Palm Sunday. There's huge processions. We had to walk through huge crowds of people getting palms blessed, and so we were there during Holy Week. So that was another part of the culture that we really got to experience in a neat way.
Is it mostly Catholic?
Absolutely, yep. So it was really neat to see that. It was Easter like I had never seen it before. So. One of the days after their morning classes, we tend to take some kind of excursion, walking excursion, or by bus if it's a little bit further. One day we went to a local fruit market where you can find absolutely any fruit you can think of, especially tropical ones, a lot of them that we might not have here. But they were able to buy different smoothies or refreshing tropical drinks to try out, and that's actually Drake and Christian and Lisa trying some of those out. So that was another part of their education, trying out new foods and things that they'd never tried before. So
Can you drink the water?
we cannot. So that was something new too, was trying to make sure that they did not do that because we didn't want to get anybody sick, and nobody did get sick. Everyone was real healthy during the trip, so that made things happy. It was really
No ice
awesome.
cubes in the smoothies.
Correct. Yep. So this is at that same place. They also got to try some empanadas and different things like that. So they really had a good time just jumping right in, and they were not afraid to try new things, which was great. This was also in that same market. It wasn't just a fruit market. You could, if you needed to, there was a butcher shop section of it you could go to. If you needed other goods like baskets, woven goods, you could get that there. One of our students decided it would be fun to buy a watermelon, which he did here in that picture. And this is
around the whole day?
He did. He carried it right back to the school. We took a break, sliced it up, and everybody had watermelon. So
Was it good?
absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. Everything was so fresh and delicious. So, and this was one of the teachers that taught the kid this particular group of students during the week and traveled with us. So. This was at our soup kitchen that we went and visited. These two students are actually in a riveting game of parcheesi, and it got kind of competitive there for a little bit, but they had a really good time. They really enjoyed it. Like I said, we did lots of dancing and serving food, and everyone that was there just absolutely loved hanging out with the students from Rapids. And
Did you let them win?
well, I was just observing. I don't remember the outcome, to be honest. But
I got really badly beaten the domino game. Yeah. Those two old men just creamed me. Older gentlemen, excuse me.
Okay. And there's just another picture of that. Christian, they actually got to do some coloring, some artwork while they were there as well. So it really was just a full service trip. It wasn't just history, just culture. They really got to get out there and try new things. It was a very outdoorsy trip as well. We got the last 2 days we spent in the rainforest in a town called Mindo, which is north and west of Quito. And they went to a butterfly garden this particular day where they could actually, what they would do is go, the butterflies love bananas. So they would go get a fingerful of banana, and then these butterflies would land right on their fingers. So that's how
They have horns on them? What is that on the end?
those are their antennae.
No, on the fin.
Oh, on the wings, I don't know. They're absolute. When they open up, you can see more of the blue here. It's a little deceiving on the outside. It looks like maybe not anything special, like you might find it here, but when they open up, it's these bright, vibrant colors.
camouflage.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they were really vibrant colors, so it was hard to capture that though with your camera.
This was a busy day. Actually, this was our last day in Ecuador. We started the morning by going on a zip line tour. So going through the canopy of the rainforest, we took a little break and visited with the butterflies, and then we went on a tubing adventure, which was billed as a tubing adventure. Maybe we thought I thought it was going to be more of just a relaxing float down a river. It was definitely whitewater rafting on but totally safe. Everyone had a great time. We had guides go with us and life jackets, helmets, the whole thing. So
Yeah, when they told us we were going to wear helmets, then I was a little worried. It was a good thing I had one on because he and I were on the same tube, and yeah, there were a lot of rocks and stuff. So it's one of those things that we're glad the parents, maybe did that while we were there because they ended up just fine.
we did have a couple different experiences where we got to go by waterfalls. This was one where we had spent a day at an open air market buying all kinds of fun, little souvenirs from Ecuador. But then afterwards we went to this waterfall, and Christian was our group photographer. Definitely, he had a GoPro and a selfie stick, so wherever the group went, he was able to get the full group in the picture. So they climbed up on a rock here to get the whole group, and doused in water too, because they were very close to the
Standing
waterfall.
right on the edge there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We climbed up that rock and then took that picture, and then we were all soaked afterwards, and we actually went on a waterfall hike. We went to 5 different waterfalls, and we got group pictures of in each one of the waterfalls in the water, and it was freezing cold water, absolutely freezing. But it was so cool. We were actually the first group that our tour guide has had that made it to all 5 waterfalls. The other groups got tired walking and didn't go to all 5, but we made it to all 5.
Your
so.
2 teachers made it too? I don't see them in the picture.
That was actually a separate trip, but they made it just fine.
That particular trip that he's mentioning, what it is they take us to the rainforest, and then there's a path that goes through and stops at 5 different waterfalls, and like it keeps going up in elevation for each one, and then you have to actually hike all the way back. I had my phone on me measuring our steps that day, and it also measures amounts of flights of stairs going up and down, whatever, and my phone measured that we went 84 flights of stairs. So we slept well that evening. We were tired.
I don't have asthma, but I had an asthmatic type of experience. Thankfully, Jake was there to help me. Ironically, I didn't have any issues until we dropped in elevation, about 2,000 to 3,000 feet from Quito down to the rainforest. And I did not make it up to the last one. I sat on the rocks and tried to breathe, drank lots of water, and waited for the children. And then Jake helped. Like I said, good thing Jake was there. He helped me out because the kids were just on their merry way. I'm like, oh, just go.
And you needed medical care. What would it have been like?
It was just like I couldn't breathe. Just got to the point. And I was thinking about that. I said, Jake, go on. I'll just sit here. Once he knew I was breathing and okay and stuff. And I was thinking about that. At least if something happens to me here, it's beautiful. So, my last breaths will be beautiful. It was a little bit scary for a few minutes. But I don't know. We hope to do this trip in the future, and I think I will see my doctor beforehand. The next day, one of our students who does have asthma said, Senora, here's my inhaler. I have an extra one just in case. Oh my gosh. But everything was fine.
Yep. So it really was a very active, very unique trip, unlike any trip we've ever taken before with this company. This is our group outside of an art museum of a local famous artist. You can actually see the mountain in the background that we, and I'll show you one of the next pictures is us on the top of it. That's the one that's about 13,000 feet, and it just overlooks the city. You can see how much the mountains and hills really are in the middle of the city too. It's not just a valley; it's all over too. And the kids can attest to that too. With their hiking back and forth from their host families, they got a lot of exercise every single day. So. And then this is the group up on top of that volcano and mountain overlooking the city of Quito down below. It's a little chillier up there, so there's a lot more jackets and long sleeves and whatnot, but you can just see how much closer you are to the clouds and everything, and it was just an incredible outlook from there. We met a few fun little alpacas and llamas along the way for a photo opportunity, so we all stopped to do that as well. So those are about all the pictures I got there. Do you guys have any comments or things you want to add? Or
For sure, being in Spanish 5, it definitely was the greatest opportunity that I could have done this year with my Spanish speaking skills. I bettered my fluency much, like noticeably, and just real thankful that I got to go on this trip, take part in this opportunity, and it was a good time. I hope upcoming students get to do this trip as well. So
Your future plans? Do you think you'll be able to use your Spanish background?
for sure, I'm going to minor in Spanish in college.
Excellent.
Going into the medical field, so I think Spanish will definitely benefit me in the medical field.
Wonderful.
I'm assuming Ecuador is settled as a government, because I don't hear much about them. What kind of government do they have?
they have a democracy just like we do. Things are always changing, everywhere, but it's very stable. I didn't feel, unsafe in that regard at all. Everything was great. So we actually were in the government palace the next day. The president was actually signing something into law declaring that the Galapagos Islands will be a international refuge more than it already was. So
Other than tourism, how do they make money?
it's a good question. I mean, tourism is their big thing, but I would say they're mining for sure. They're the fruit, exporting fruit, coffee, and all that stuff. So
I know that the man in charge of the school, who was also in charge of us along with his wife, said that they're having some rough times right now, economically speaking, as is most of this part of the world, but that they've been very happy with how things have been going now. I believe the president is in the last part of his term, and he has fulfilled he has served the maximum amount of time. I don't know if it was 6 years or 8 years. 6 years. I think it's 6. Okay, so they will be having elections and things like that, but not like some of the other countries where they have more political uprising. And like Jake said, I don't think in any capacity except for the breathing did I ever not feel safe there. It was we felt safe. We felt
Sure.
good as a group.
Separation between rich and poor, or were they sort of in the middle?
You could definitely see a difference as we would walk to school every day. We would see, the poor people, but it's not night and day different. Everyone fits in where, they are. So
It's not as if you've ever been to Mexico and you've seen some of it, it doesn't appear to be as drastic as it is. But they definitely are not a rich country, and they do have poverty.
Do they have oil at all?
I don't believe so, but not to the capacity such as Venezuela or some other countries. In fact, they do, because when we were talking about the economy and the level of unemployment rising, Luis said that one of the problems is the price of oil has went down so much, and that's hurting, of course, their economy.
also with money, not necessarily how they make it, but prices of things there. So we brought family gifts for our families, and I think one of us in our family stay brought a thing of Nutella, and they were so happy to see that because a little tin of Nutella costed $9 or $10 there, where versus the fruit that we had at that market, that watermelon couldn't have been more than $1 or $2, and then the drink that I was drinking in those pictures was 50 cents, and it was all fresh fruit. And then we went to Otavalo, one of the biggest markets in South America, and the prices were ridiculously inexpensive. Like huge blankets for $10, $15.
Alpaca.
Yeah, all made from alpaca. So their imports are fairly expensive, but their natural foods are very inexpensive, so.
I think it was about $2 for a dozen of roses. That would last at least a week. They're a big
Yeah, so-
exporter of flowers,
And the
roses,
kids bought
and
the teachers, no.
They said that the roses actually normally are the size of your palm, like your entire hand, and that's $2 for a dozen of them. Whereas, you know, huge roses, and it was very cool to see that kind of stuff there.
Drake, you have anything?
Yeah, what Christian said, it was just a great experience. I was actually sad that they're not having another one next year, because I was asking, can we go to a different place this time? Because it's just like nothing we've ever done before. And me and Christian were actually staying in the same house, and the families were just so nice, and they helped do with anything, and it was just an amazing time.
Maybe that planted the seed to travel for you. Young men enjoy that.
Yeah.
So,
And I think for Jake and I, we have found the trip that we want to continue to offer. You know, we've been different places, but this one just had the best of all these different parts, you know, a mix of everything, and it was very educational. So the 2 days of school that we missed as field trip days were unlike any other 2 days I've missed of school. So
How did it take to get there?
it was about 5 hours from Houston to Quito. And of course, we had to fly from O'Hare to Houston, which was about 2.5 hours or so. But we took a bus from Lincoln. So we left at 5 a.m. and we got there. By the time we got to the hotel, it was after 1 a.m.
On our way home, we had left our hotel at 3 p.m. and we got to Lincoln High School 3 p.m. the next day.
Yeah, so it
So
was like
we
half a
traveled for that
day
long.
for each one, but well worth it.
Great.
excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for the report.
Yes.
And thank
Wonderful
you
to
for
see.
supporting student travel. I know that that's really difficult in this day and age. You know, we think about a lot of things that now that we would have never thought about before in terms of student safety. And I'm not just talking about pickpocketers and things on the street. I'm talking about, you know, of course, terrorism and all those things in the world. So, you know, we really appreciate having those opportunities
Well, you came
your
home-
support.
You came home right before that earthquake hit, too.
That was
so-
wonderful. Yes. It did not affect the Quito area, but they certainly felt it and they had the scare of it. So, thank you.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Okay, next we can move on to the minutes.
Okay, I would make a motion that the regular Board of Education meeting minutes of April 11th, the special Board of Education meeting, organizational meeting minutes of April 25th, and the special Board of Education meeting open and closed of April 25th be approved as printed.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the regular Board of Education meeting minutes of April 11th, the special Board of Education meeting, organizational meeting minutes of April 25th, and the special Board of Education meeting open and closed session minutes of April 25th be approved as printed. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries, minutes are approved. Next is comments from citizens. Is there any tonight, Maureen? No. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to committee reports. John, start with business services.
Thank you, John. Business Services met on Monday, May 2nd. We started at 6 p.m. We had no public comment. We have 2 consent agenda items to present to the board. First one being BS1 was a food service meal price. It's a proposal to increase the price of all student visitor meals by 50 cents from 2016-17 school year in order to cover all food costs. We're recommending that for approval. The second item we have is a technology maintenance and software support, and this was brought forward. I filled for the maintenance and software support of our from AE Business Services for the Juniper switches located at Lincoln High School, East Junior High School, and Wisconsin Rapids Area Middle School for the next year at a total cost of $10,940.07 to be funded from a combination of technology referendum budget and federal E-rate funding. And we're moving that forward to approval. So the committee recommends and I move that we approve BS1 and BS2.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve BS1 and BS2. Maureen, can we have roll call, vote, please?
Mrs. Rayle?
Yes.
Mr. Kreis?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina? Yes. Mr. Bendel?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Head?
Yes.
Thank you, Marie.
Okay, and then to give you a little background on the food service, normally, as Julie Marie had told us in the past, and then Lizzie, our new Director of Food Services, she actually went to the DPI and was able to negotiate a no increase for our regular lunch programs because of an exemption that we have an exceptionally strong food service fund. So she did the paperwork and got us the exemption. Otherwise, we would have had to increase lunch prices for 10 cents per grade level for next year, so we no longer have to do that. However, the USDA does require that the non-program food for visitors and adults and teachers outside of the school district, they are not covered by the subsidies, so they have to have a lunch price that covers the full amount. So that's why we had increased 50 cents for visitors. The new prices will be elementary $2.45, middle school $2.65, and high school $2.85.
Still a pretty good deal.
And then the second part, we did have some discussion about the juniper switches when we had the committee meeting. And next year, Phil may look at a little different way to renew the maintenance and the software support. And we might be able to do some of that in-house to save some money. But he felt because of the new switches, and mainly we asked, how do you maintain a switch when it's a box with a bunch of ports on it? And it's more than that, the software program and upgrades, because the switches themselves are lifetime warranted. So if the switch would go bad, we get a new switch. But the maintenance and software updates were the first thing that Phil wanted to get till he had some comfort level with the program since it's new to our district. So we do have some different thoughts for next year, because I did question the $10,000 for software for, I think it was 28 switches or something like that. So we did have some discussion on that, and we will look at that next year as a budget item. Then we did have a couple purchase updates. One was our liaison officer. Another one was the educational software that we have for our libraries. It's our library software. And then teachers also use that. And with that, I submit the balance of our minutes for approval.
Okay, motion is second to approve the Business Service Committee meeting minutes of May 2nd, 2016. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, John. And I guess I would just like to add that tonight we did tour the Trade Homes house that was built by the Lincoln High School students over this past school year. And it's always amazing to me to go into those homes and to see the skills that those young people have developed and actually taking a hole in the ground and building a house. I mean, those are skills that they'll be able to use throughout the rest of their life. So it's always very good to see. So
Also, they're never the same, exactly.
Nope.
They have to figure out new things every year.
pouring concrete and
Yeah.
siding, roofing, good stuff. So, okay, next we'll go on to personnel services. Sandy.
Personnel Services met last Monday on May 2nd, and from that meeting, we have 10 consent agenda items, and they are as followed, and we had no public comment. Number one, the committee recommends, and I move to approve the 2016 summer school program support staff appointments. Second, the committee recommends, and I move to approve the 3 summer technology support appointments. Third, the committee recommends, and I move to approve the 2 support staff appointments. Fourth, the committee recommends, and I move to approve the 1 support staff early retirement. Fifth, the committee recommends, and I move to approve the 3 professional staff resignations. Sixth, the committee recommends, and I move to approve the 2 support staff resignations. Seventh, the committee recommends, and I move to approve the students requesting to attend the Wisconsin Rapid Public Schools under the open enrollment law, pending a review of discipline records and special services needs. Eighth, the committee recommends, and I move to approve the students requesting to attend non-resident school districts under the open enrollment law, pending a review of discipline records and special services needs. And I just want to say, as of last Monday, the number in and the number out were identical. That can change. When people are requesting to go outside the district, they can choose up to 3 different districts. And just because they're asking now doesn't necessarily mean that they will go through with it. So it's really kind of up in the air. This is just preliminary, but right now it's even. 9, the committee recommends and I move to approve a wage increase of 1.62%, which is the CPI, retroactive to July 1st, 2015 for employees discussed, which include computer technicians, instructional software support specialists, network manager, systems manager, and PAC director. And 10, the committee recommends and I move to approve the employee benefits documents as presented in committee for employees discussed, which includes those 4 categories that we just enumerated: computer technicians, instructional software support specialists, network manager, systems manager, and PAC director with an effective date of July 1st, 2016. And I want to, we have Ryan did this beautiful color coded, and we can just go through these quickly so you can see what things we changed with those 4. Looking at employee benefits for the computer technicians, we have 4 computer technicians, and they are right now and still under the custodian handbook. But after this, they will not be. The things that you see in yellow on all 4 of these categories are things that are common to all 4 and that have been added this year. Under health insurance as an employee benefit is not guaranteed and remains subject to change, enhancement, or elimination during the term of employment. On this group, it's the only group that we have 95% of the premium for family coverage for dental insurance. They are at a different percentage than the other groups. That's why that's in orange. On the dental insurance in yellow, because this is common to all 4 groups, dental insurance as an employment benefit is not guaranteed and remains subject to change, enhancement, or elimination during the term of employment. When we go down to holidays, we've taken out 1 holiday, Good Friday. It's becoming a floating holiday. When you next page, when you see in blue, these are things that are unique to this group. First one is the personal leave. Up to 2 days for personal business may be utilized each year. They did not have this benefit for the last 3 years. Other groups did. It's been added in here. If we go down to the other blue, computer technicians hired prior to July 1st, 2013 shall receive 1 additional day of vacation after 20 full years of service with the district. The 1 additional day of vacation is non-cumulative, is in addition to what is shown in the chart above, and shall provide the employee with no more than a total of 26 days of vacation per year annually. This is a reduction of what was before. And then if we go to page 4 of that group, this is common to all 4 groups. In the event of separation of employment from the district during the year, the 12 days of sick leave provided by the district to the employee for the full year shall be prorated based upon the actual service during the year of separation, including resignation, termination, or voluntary or involuntary transfer to a position that allows a lesser sick leave benefit. So that's for that group. Going on to the employee benefits for the network manager and systems manager, we have 1 in each. The health insurance, yellow, that's that same benefit. Dental insurance, yellow, that's that same sentence. The holidays, that's the same as the other group. Page 2, the separation is the same. The 10 sick leave, the 10 days of accrued sick leave, that is the same. Going to page 3, those also are the same with the others. Early retirement health insurance, see the things that make it the same. And going on to instructional software support specialists, there's 1 of those. Once again, on the first page, health insurance, dental insurance, and holidays, the same as the other group. Page 2, the separation and sick leave, same as the other group, the bottom. Page 3 at the top, there you see those same paragraphs. Down at the bottom, early retirement, you see that same benefit there. And finally, the PAC director, once again, we have those same 3 things on the front page, health, dental, and holidays. Separation on page 2 and sick leave. On page 2, And page 3, the same thing as the other ones. So those are the things, I thought we should enumerate those before we just made them consent agenda items. Is there anybody that would like something out or have something explained further?
I just have a question.
Yes.
I remember seeing that health insurance being, is not guaranteed. I don't remember seeing that in there before. Is that added?
That's added.
Why did we add it?
Because we want the flexibility to make changes.
It's understood if we have to do something, we'll do it anyway.
That's why we're putting it in there, so that it is understood.
We never know what we're going to be mandated to change.
I know,
Well,
I don't remember seeing it.
no, it hasn't. This has been added. The sentence under health insurance and dental insurance have been added to these this year.
I believe that was in the handbook though for the teaching staff.
For the teachers.
Right.
You could put that after every benefit, which you might not give it to you.
The wording that was used in these benefit documents is comparable to the language that's in the individual teacher contracts, their one-year contracts. Again, it's outlining the fact that these benefits are subject to change. I would say as much as anything, and it very much could be applicable later this year, that we may be looking at a design change effective January 1. So to have that disclaimer in there that these benefits are subject to change at any time, it just seems appropriate to have that be a part of the benefit document of this nature, similar again to what's in the teacher contract.
I don't know if I were an employee and I saw that one year and it didn't happen last year, I'd say, what does that mean? I mean, you're gonna do it? It always perks my interest when I see it.
Yeah, this isn't a board that has taken action just to do it, so. And that change, if we were making a change in insurance, we'd be bringing it through you anyway, but normally, if you look at a year, a school year, you think, well, that's going to stay status quo. Come January, we may be making a change because our renewal will
I saw that on a box of potato chips, and I wondered about them too. Why are they putting that in there?
Go ahead. PS5, are those, there isn't dates, I noticed, are they resignations at the end of the year? PS5 is the
I go back to the
professional staff resignations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Usually there's a date in there.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, we have motion a second to approve PS1 through
You
PS10.
really got to that quick.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
We got through that quickly because Brian did a wonderful job of making this easy to understand. Thank you very much. Is there anything you want to clarify in this? Okay. Too late. And with that, I move that the minutes from the May 2nd Personnel Services Committee meeting be approved as printed.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have motion a second to approve the meeting minutes from the Personnel Services Committee of May 2nd, 2016. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, minutes are approved. Thank you, Sandy. We'll move on to Educational Services Committee. Ann.
Thanks, Jim. The Educational Services also met last Monday on May 2nd, and we had no public comment. We have 5 consent agenda items. Does anyone care to? Except we have more than that because, that's right. We have 9 because the last one the last 2 we separated out. Does anyone have anything they want held up? Okay, our first one was about the elementary English language arts curriculum and partial acquisition. Jen Wilhorn, who is our elementary literacy specialist, along with Ruth Holtz, Casey Marks, Kelly Schaefer, and Terry Thomas, all members of the Elementary English Language Arts Council for Instructional Improvement Subcommittee, presented the proposed curriculum and partial acquisition for approval. Ms. Wilhorn reviewed how the ELA-CII subcommittee has been mapping the curriculum. She also reviewed how the elementary ELA-CII subcommittee has worked hard to identify the best materials for instruction. And with the purchase of the writing units of study, teachers will require ongoing and job-embedded professional development. The committee will continue to pilot up materials in reading and grammar as the elementary staff and committee are still seeking consensus on this decision. And we complimented them on a really rough job and a long process that they've done very, very well. The next consent agenda item was on the professional development plan, and Kathy Stebbins-Hintz, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, reviewed the proposed WRPS professional development plan for the 2016-17 school year, as well as steps taken to create the plan. We went on to professional days, and Kathy explained the proposal for changes of professional development days. This proposal would spread the days throughout the school year, and it would also eliminate the 7.5-hour requirement and add one additional professional day during the year. This change would make the use of time during these days more responsive to the district, building, and individual initiatives. We went on to the calendars. Colleen Dickman, our superintendent, reviewed the proposed changes to the 2016-17 calendar. Although this calendar was approved and published 3 years ago, there is a need for more ongoing job-embedded professional development at the elementary level. Because the elementary schools meet the DPI instructional hours requirement, an additional day of professional development at the elementary level can be added, and this would only be for 2016-17. The proposed 2017-18 and 2018-19 calendars set out in attachment G reflect the additional professional development days and the elimination of the 7.5-hour requirement. We went on to look at the agenda planners. Casey Drake, who's our assistant principal at Lincoln High School, Patty Ritchie, assistant principal at East Junior High School, and Tracy Gittner, principal at Wisconsin Rapids Area Middle School, reviewed proposed changes to the 2016-17 agenda planners for each of their buildings. And those were approved in 3 separate motions. So with that, the committee recommends, and I move that we approve ES 1 through 9.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve ES 1 through ES 9. All those in favor, please say aye. Okay. Could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Medina? Yes. Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Krings?
Yes.
Mr. Bembo?
Yes.
Mrs. Head?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Brand? Yes.
Thank you, Maureen.
I thought the handbook would more smoothly this year.
And we had no updates this month. And so with that, the committee recommends and I move the approval of the minutes for the May 2nd, 2016 Educational Services Committee meeting.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve the meeting minutes of the Educational Services Committee of May 2nd, 2016. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Thank you, Ann. We'll move on to agenda referrals, information requests. Does anybody have anything this month? Okay, we can move on to the legislative agenda. John, is there anything going on these days?
Well, a couple things went on. The CPR mandate, unfunded mandate, was passed into law, Bill 545. Currently, we do CPR in our high school levels, 9 through 12. This extended it from 9 through 12 to 7 through 12. And it was not funded, it was set up by 2 of our local legislators, Mr. Spiros and Gavin Marshall, had drafted this mandate. Cole, yep. And it's just another unfunded mandate of what the school districts don't really need to do is add more requirements to teach in health and everything else. And I suppose you're going to throw that into a curriculum now, correct?
We actually do teach CPR. It's part of our 7th grade curriculum and have for a number of years. Unfortunately, with going to the trimester schedule, health is not going to be part of the 7th grade curriculum anymore. It's going to be 6th grade and 8th grade. But that class will be for a longer period of time. It will be 12 weeks instead of 9, so we will be working it in either 6th or 8th grade.
So we're ahead of the curve.
Yes.
That's
In fact, we used to actually certify every student. They could get the little card and everything, which was kind of neat, but we discontinued that, but still taught the first aid, so.
Then the state is looking at study committees, so if anybody's interested in a study committee, I think it might have already passed. It could have been on the study committee for different things. The U.S. Department of Education in mid-April was supposedly finalizing the testing standards, which I don't think we've seen anything yet from them. So I don't know if it says finalizing, but I don't think I've seen anything in.
They've had work groups working,
Okay.
but that's definitely a work in progress.
So nothing new on that front. There is DPI meetings. There was a survey they must have sent out to the school districts in regards to teacher shortages. So the CISAs now have that data back, and now they're setting up meetings in each CISA region to discuss teacher shortage survey results, which we listened to Ryan, and we know that he told us a couple weeks back, at the time you looked, 93 math openings. Has that changed?
I'm not looking, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, there was an opening for 93 math teachers, and we know that the schools, there was a report back over since 2010, the last 6 years since Act 10, that each university in the state of Wisconsin had, over the last 6 years, has seen a 20 to 40% reduction in teaching candidates and people interested in doing the teaching. So it is a red flag situation that's going to come up, especially when we have retirements and people wanting to come out. And we're not having necessarily retirements. I know there's multiple teachers leaving the profession to begin with because they need the mandates and everything else that they are now trying to have or being asked to do. And so, especially these smaller districts, they're leaving to go to business. I know my wife's district, there's 2 teachers that are leaving to go to business. Moving to another teaching degree, they're just out. So it's going to really hit the wall pretty quick. The only other thing that they have, which is leading, and I would like to read part of this because it is kind of interesting. It's talking a look at voucher funding. So there are 3 voucher programs in the state, Milwaukee, Racine, and statewide. For 2016-17, the voucher amounts are going to be equal. For K-8, they're going to get $7,323, and for 9 through 12, $7,969.
And that's more than we get in state aid.
That's more than we get. We get about 5,800 or something like that, I believe. Then they talked about the differences. Milwaukee pays 74.4%. Racine, the state pays 100%, which comes out of the GPR. The interesting part is for statewide. So if the voucher candidate was from 2015, oh, you got the same thing?
Got a bigger proof for it.
Yeah, that's okay. 2015-16 school year, the state pays the full amount, 100%, and that comes out of the GPR. However, anybody after 2015-16, the voucher payments are funded by transferring state aid away from the district in which the student resides and to participating voucher school in which the student is enrolled in an equal amount. The voucher payment for that student. So basically, we're losing money.
Well, we could do a non-recurring revenue limit exemption. The problem, I mean, Dan and I have been talking about this, the problem we're going to have is that we'll be able to levy for the dollars that we lose, because what they're going to send out in voucher dollars is more than what we get in state aid. So we'll levy the local taxpayer for that difference through a non-recurring exemption, but we won't get it until the following year. So we'll always be a little bit behind in other words, they'll take the dollars and then we'll be out the money until the following year.
And it goes, of course, if the board does not levy this amount under revenue limits, the lost aid represents a cut in the district's budget. So it would lose double the money if we don't levy for it. So basically, they're saying we have to levy for it, otherwise we're going to get hit again. So that's the things that people don't realize. So voucher students who begin participating in the program the year 2015-16 or later are counted in the revenue limit and state aid calculation of the school district of residence, although there is a one-year delay before the students generate the district. That's the voucher as it is, and it just changes and gets more frustrating every time you look at it.
Where did the business of crime in schools, is that still 3 test things next year?
3 test districts. I have not heard who those are or who volunteered for that. We'll see it again next year.
So our CISA is CISA 5, and the meeting is May 23rd, 8:30 to noon in Portage, Wisconsin, and there's a capacity of 50 people.
And that's regarding teacher shortage.
Teacher shortage. So if anybody's
The
interested.
reasons for it.
And Mr. Davis last month asked me to talk to some students to see if they noticed. And the students responded like, yeah, they have like some classes, more AP classes, if they don't have enough, won't be able to run. So they're kind of bummed about that. And some clubs as well will not be run because of the student, because not enough teachers are able to run those. So, so students have been noticing that as well.
Everything has an impact. Just don't see it right away.
Other than that, that's all I have.
Thanks, John. More good news every month. You're a ray of sunshine.
Yeah, that's why Barry wanted to give it up.
Thanks, John.
We'll move on to the bills.
Okay, I would make a motion that the receipts be noted and the bills be paid as printed.
Okay, we have motion and a second that the receipts be noted and bills paid as printed in our packet. We have a roll call, please, Maureen.
Mrs. Heck?
Yes.
Mr. Bemmel?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Crane?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rayo? Yes. Mrs. Medina? Yes.
Thank you, Maureen. We'll move on to new business. Item 8, possible action on employee appointments, resignations, and retirement requests. Okay. Item B, discussion and possible action to approve a possible extension to the decision to purchase date of June 30, 2016 stipulated in the Boys and Girls Club lease agreement.
Just by way of information, I worked with the attorney that wrote up the original lease, and then he wrote up an addendum to that lease and wrote it such that the only thing impacted is that particular item, and we bumped that date to the end of October. We didn't think it would have an impact on us as a school district. We're not going to be making major decisions between the end of June and the end of October, but once they let us know, then we'll start moving forward with what our plans might be once we know their decision.
Okay.
So I would simply need a motion to approve the extension.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to approve an extension to the date purchase, I guess, to October 31st, 2016 for the Boys and Girls Club. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item, discuss and then possible action to amend the 2015-16 district budget.
Everyone has quite a break.
Great.
And the big change in the revenue is the reporting of receipts from the insurance claim on our roofing. You'll see under, let's see, the last item, other revenue, that amount increased to just under $600,000 under revenue. The changes under expenditures have to do with grants again. There was some carryover. There was an increase in the amount of the grant. And then, but other than that, the other change was a larger transfer to the Special Education Fund and the Debt Service Fund. And those are the changes. Under Fund 10, we were putting in $999,000 under this budget, $999,000 into our fund balance based on this budget. There's a decrease in the total amount budget under special education, just over $500,000. And then on the backside, I added $25,000 to go into the sinking fund. Last year we set up a sinking fund, Fund 46, and we'll be adding, this will add $25,000 to that. Then in the referendum, we're putting $1 million from Fund 10 into the referendum fund, and then there was $1 million there. And with that, we'll be bringing forward a defeasance plan the end of June for about $2 million, $1,955,000 of debt at the end of June. You see the changes there in food service, a slight increase in the revenue, and then a decrease in our expenditures, but it still gives us a substantial fund balance. There was a decrease in the amount we spent in employee trust funds. What happened was, as employees or retirees move out of reach age 65, we were paying almost full benefits for many of them, 90% of the health insurance. As new retirees come into it, they're set at a fixed amount of the 85%. At the 85% amount, and it's set at a fixed amount for the term of their retirement. And then Community Service Fund, the big change there is we're not allowed to spend in areas we've spent in the past. And then some of the items we purchased this year have to be purchased split between the Community Service Fund and the General Fund based on the amount of student use we have of the PAC. So that's the big change there in the Community Service Fund. Any questions? We didn't have any amendments to this budget this year, so this will be the first one.
I move to amend the budget as described on the gray sheet.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve the amendments presented tonight on the gray sheet to the budget. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, last is an update on the 2016-17 district budget.
So I wanted to just give you a preview because we've not brought anything forward. We're continuing to work diligently to cover the deficit that we're facing. We have an approximate deficit, I would say, because we're looking at a 14.4 renewal rate with health insurance. We know that from July through December. What we don't know is what the renewal rate will be January through June, and that will be dependent upon the plan that we select or any changes that we might make. So we've made a conservative estimate. I prefer to go about this conservatively and assume a greater deficit than what might be there. But we think it's reasonable. We're expecting, I don't really want to go there. We've made we think a good sound guess as to what that change might be, but should we go out to bid, we don't want to really bring numbers forward to you at this time. We know that we've had some loss in revenue limit. We've accounted for the 0.12 CPI, and we've looked at the amount we pay to teachers for their credits that they take, and we've put those numbers together. We also know that there's an increase in some pupil categorical aid. So in total, we think our budget is right around the $2 million mark. And we're looking currently at savings in staffing across groups where people have, any group, whether it's clerical, teaching, wherever there is either a retirement or a resignation, we're reviewing those positions and in many cases not replacing those, instead shifting people. You know that we, with SAGE, have moved to the AGR, which does not limit us to 18-1, and in some cases we'll have classes of 19 or 20 instead of 18. We've tried to keep that to a minimum, but that will happen. And then we've moved people that exist into those vacancies rather than hiring new. So we've accrued close to, I would say, $800,000 of savings just in staffing. We've looked at, we've had a snow day that saves us. We've got some savings in OPEB, as Dan has mentioned. We also have some HRA savings. So we think we're close, and we hope to bring something, forward to you probably in June, either at the board meeting or when we have our budget meeting. So I just wanted to let you know we are working on it. You haven't heard anything, but we're getting there. So once again, that's all I have for you.
Okay, thank you. And if we look at our calendars, don't forget we do have a meeting Thursday at 4 p.m.
Is that long that could be about?
10 minutes, 15 minutes?
15 to 20.
I wouldn't expect it to be longer than that. Depending on how many questions you might have.
I will have it.
Okay. We're gonna write that
We're going
down.
to hold him to it. All right, with that, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.